We covered 276 poetry videos on the channel this year, 365 uploads this year, a few more actually than that. There were a couple times where we doubled up, but 276 of those videos were dedicated exclusively to poetry here on the channel, and this series will get us to 280 so long as I am able to finish it within the confines of this calendar year. This is the 20 through 16 of the top 20 poetry videos or top 20 poems that I covered on the channel this year. Number 20 is A Little Road Not Made of Man by Emily Dickinson, and it reads as such. A little road not made of man, enabled of the eye, accessible to thill of bee or cart of butterfly. If town it have beyond itself, 'tis that I cannot say. I only sigh, no vehicle bears me along that way. I did try to limit Emily Dickinson, and I did cover my favorite poem of all time on this channel. That, of course, being I Died for Beauty by Emily Dickinson. It will not appear in this list because I have tried to limit the Emily Dickinson that is on this list. Otherwise, we would just have 20 Emily Dickinson poems to go over here. But this poem is one that it paints a very vivid picture in your mind if you're able to step back from the poem. So Emily Dickinson oftentimes incorporates a little bit of archaic language, and that makes it difficult to really paint a picture in your mind the first read through. But this is a poem that I don't know if, I think this was the first time I ever covered this poem on the channel, and it's one that is a small poem, a short poem, oftentimes, in my opinion, about the two or three verses, or where Emily Dickinson is at her best, her absolute best. This having two verses or three verses keeps her from getting too in the weeds of her mind, but it does not confine her to being so terse that she is extremely difficult to unpack. This poem is one that, though I don't think there is, look, there's a lot of depth to all Emily Dickinson poems, but I don't think that this is the most in-depth of her poems. But it is a poem that gives us some meat on the bone to work with if we are allowing ourselves that reading, going up into the sky with the bees, with the butterflies, with the birds that often appear in Emily Dickinson's poetry. The town beyond itself is something that we have to imagine as the reader. We have to sort of implicate what it is that Emily Dickinson means. And in my opinion, that is where we are forced within the self to imagine what that town is and indulge ourselves in the flights of fancy that Emily Dickinson so often allows in her poetry. The number 19 poem here is The Apparition by Donne, and it reads as such. When by thy scorn, O murderess, I am dead, and that thou think'st thee free from all solicitations from me, then shall my ghost come to thy bed, and thee, feigned vessel, in worse arms shall see. Then thy sick taper will begin to wink, and he, whose thou art then, being tired before, will, if thou stir or pinch to wake him, think thou call'st for more, and in false sleep will from thee shrink, and then, poor aspen wretch, neglect thou, bathed in a cold quicksilver sweat, wilt lie, a verier ghost than I. What I will say I will not tell thee now, lest that preserve thee, and since my love is spent, I had rather thou shouldst painfully repent, than by my threatenings rest still innocent. This is from John Donne, one of the metaphysical poets, sort of a proclamation of manhood. Even if I die and you find someone else, baby, he won't be me. And in the middle of the night when you stir and he thinks that you want more, he'll shrink away. My manliness would undoubtedly satiate, would undoubtedly say, hey, If you're ready to go, baby, so am I. That is this poem in a nutshell. Pardon the pun. But the poem itself is written in a way that this all has to be teased out of your mind. It's on the page for sure, right? All of these things are clearly communicated by John Donne, but not in a crass manner that might behoove someone like Charles Bukowski. This is a poem that is coy a little bit in its attempt at the subject here, but it is not coy in its proclamations. This is one of the things from John Donne that is perhaps as charming as you could hope from someone who is proclaiming these things. No matter who you find, no matter where you go, you won't be with me, and that will be lesser. The 18th poem on this list, The Things We Dare Not Tell by Henry Lawson. The fields are fair in autumn yet, and the sun still shining there. But we bow our heads and we brood and fret because of the masks we wear. Or we nod and smile the social while and say we're doing well. But we break our hearts, oh, we break our hearts, for things we must not tell. There's the old love wronged ere the new was won. There's the light of long ago. There's the cruel lie that we suffer for, and the public must not know. So we go through life with ghastly mask, and we're doing fairly well. While they break our hearts, oh, they kill our hearts, do the things we must not tell. We see but pride in a selfish breast, while a heart is breaking there. Oh, the world would be such a kindly world if all men's hearts were lay bare. We live and share the living lie. We are doing very well. While they eat our hearts as the years go by, do the things we dare not tell. We, pardon me, we bow us down to a dusty shrine or a temple in the east, or we stand and drink the world old creed while the coffins at the feast. We fight it down, we live it down, or we bear it bravely well. But the best men die of a broken heart for the things they cannot tell. This is a message from Henry Lawson that seems to be popping up again in social media, that seems to be popping up in the zeitgeist, the masks that we wear, that we are not able to be fully ourselves because of the confines of society itself. I think part of what this poem reminds me of is that it reminds me a little bit of the trench poets from World War I. And the trench poets I really, really, really enjoy the trench poets because they take the unbearable nature of life and put it in words that say, hey, this is unbearable. We've got to do it, but it's unbearable. And Henry Lawson here is communicating something very much to that effect, saying that the things that we are, the confines, the shackles of society itself, the confines of, and what is society if not expectation, right? The expectations of those around us, that's society. The expectations of those around us are that we remain strong, that we remain vigilant, that we remain unbreakable. And I think that it's a lot of men, I think, really feel this way, that they are not allowed to be weak. And the weakness that is inside them, they have to hide it and put on this mask and say, hey, no, everything's fine. Everything's okay. It doesn't matter. Why? Well, because the sun's going to rise in the morning and there will be no respite for us there. There will be no Immeret where we can take shelter from the storm of life. We have to carry on. We have to move forward because there are people depending on us. There are people who have depended on us. There are people still yet who will depend on us. And because of that, any bit of weakness that we have has to be hidden, cannot be expressed. And I think that is something that stands true to this day. Accidental blank page. Number 17 here. One Art by Elizabeth Bishop. So Henry Lawson and Elizabeth Bishop, both, I believe, new poets to the channel this calendar year. One Art reads as such. The art of losing isn't hard to master. So many things seem filled with the intent to be lost that their loss is no disaster. Lose something every day, except the fluster of lost door keys, the hour badly spent. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Then practice losing farther, losing faster, places and names, and where it was you meant to travel. None of these things will bring disaster. I lost my mother's watch, and look, my last or next to last of 3 loved houses went. The art of losing isn't hard to master. I lost 2 cities, lovely ones, and, vaster, some realms I owned. 2 rivers, a continent, I missed them, but it wasn't a disaster. Even losing you, the joking voice, a gesture I love, I shan't have lied, it's evident. The art of losing's not hard to master, though it may look like, write it, like disaster. The meta-commentary on writing itself, the meta-commentary on art itself is something that I always appreciate. I think that it can be overdone and overwrought in some attempts. I think that oftentimes, if you look at current pop culture, rappers often write and rap and perform lyrics about the art itself, using it as a metaphor for something larger to them. This poem, I think, is the ethos of this poem, I believe, comes before that, saying that the art itself is made from losing, and the art of losing being hard to master, the art of art coming from that place is something that I don't think this poem is given credit for very often, but it is something that is real. It is something that to the creative type is tangible, and something that I think creative types are always paranoid about. So reading this poem gives voice to that. The 16th poem on this list is The Solitary Reaper by William Wordsworth, and it reads as such. Behold her, single in the field, yon solitary Highland lass, reaping and singing by herself. Stop here, or gently pass. Alone she cuts and binds the grain, and sings a melancholy strain. Oh, listen, for the vale of profound is overflowing with the sound. No nightingale did ever chaunt more welcome notes to weary bands of travelers in some shanty haunt. Among Arabian sands a voice so thrilling never was heard. In springtime from the cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas, among the farthest Hebrides. Will no one tell me what she sings? Perhaps the plaintive numbers flow for old, unhappy, far-off things, and battles long ago. Or is it more humble lay, familiar of today, some natural sorrow, loss, or pain that has been, or may be, again? Whatever the theme, the maiden sang, as if her song could have no ending. I saw her singing at her work, over the sickle bending. I listened, motionless and still, and mounted up the hill. The music in my heart I bore long after it was heard no more. William Wordsworth is a poet in himself that I am trying to read more often. This is a poem that for me is haunting for sure, but also I think that there is some obvious figment of beauty in it, some obvious figment of longing in it. William Wordsworth, to my experience, often employs something like this in his poetry, this longingness, this longing, this idea of something beautiful being brief. And those are things that the brevity of beauty, the timely nature of life, I don't know that we really appreciate timeliness as much as timelessness, but being present in the now is something that, for myself, definitely I have to get better at. This poem is a constant reminder of that, finding beauty in the moment to moment of the day, in the moment to moment of life. That is the first 5 of the top 20 poems from this year that I read. This series will continue on the channel, I believe, later on tonight, if I'm able to get that video made. If you like or appreciate this sort of thing, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button to stick around for more poetry in the future. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.